Hey BookTube, this is an amazing book haul. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I have a lot of print books to show you today because I just got back from the Tucson Festival of Books, which is a very low-key festival held in Tucson at the University of Arizona campus. And I had a great time. I went with some friends. One of them lives in Scottsdale, so I was able to take books that I own and then order some on Amazon and have them shipped to my friend in Scottsdale. And then there were some books that I bought while I was at the festival. And that's always a good thing because you support the festival and keep it going. It's a very low-key festival, really great. None of the lines were very long to have authors sign your book. There were some that were long for good reason, but I didn't care about those lines, and that was great. It is all kinds of books, the entire spectrum. You've got everybody from, you know, John Grisham kinds of books. He wasn't there, but, you know, the very popular bestsellers down to children's picture books. And so it was wonderful. There were panels. And I have to tell you that there was not an author that I met that was not gracious and welcoming and nice, and many of them were very chatty, and I got to just kind of have a brief conversation with them. It was really great. Okay, so I'm going to start by showing you the books that I took with me and had signed. So the first of those is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste. This is an ex-library copy. I fixed this book up a little bit, and when I had Celeste sign it, she said, "Ooh, I've never seen this one." And I said, "That's because it's the only one." And it was a library copy, and I de-libraryified it. So I wanted to show it to you. Basically, you know, no shiny plastic cover. I used some scrapbook paper to put new end papers on. And right in here is where the glued sections were. So, you know, if you are going to do this, you can pull that off and it will kind of wreck the cover a little bit. But if you put new end papers on, that's fine. It'll fix it. So I put them in the front and in the back. This is just scrapbook paper that I had. And then to cover up that stamp, I painted the end. The text block is what this is called. So I painted it with a shiny paint, and then I really didn't like that very much, and so I repainted it with another flat paint that I had gotten, and if I were to do it again, I would do just the flat paint. And that's because some of it is tending to flake off. But I put several coats on, and all you do, you know, is really just squeeze the text blocks together, and then just paint. And there you go. So now I have a one-of-a-kind book that Celeste has signed. It just says, "To Jen, all best wishes." And if you see these, that's because when you go to a book festival and you have your book signed, it's very helpful to have a Post-it note with your name on it, because then all they have to do is look inside at the Post-it note. It pulls it to the right page that they will sign, and your name is already in front of them, so they don't have to say, "What's your name? How do you spell it?" None of that. So if you see these, that's why. So yeah, one-of-a-kind copy. I got to see Laurie Halse Anderson, and I had her sign my copy of Wintergirls, and she was very, very nice, very chatty. And this says, "Taste Life." This is a book about anorexia, and it's an excellent book. I can highly recommend it. I have reviewed it before and talked about it, and she was just more extroverted than you would have expected. And it was just, she was just so nice. Yeah, yet another gracious author. Paolo Bacigalupi was there, and I actually asked him, I said, "Listen, I gotta ask you, can you pronounce your name for me just so we get the final word on how to pronounce it?" He said, "Yes, it's Bacigalupi." And then he went into a very long explanation of why it's pronounced that way and what it means and what language it's in, and it was great. So I had Shipbreaker and The Water Knife, and I didn't get the rest of the trilogy for Shipbreaker, but it says, "For Jen, with all my best." And then Karen, my friend Karen, who lives in Scottsdale, who is the one I sent all my books to, had given me The Water Knife for Christmas this year. And so this says, for Jen, may we imagine better futures. So there's his signature. He was really great, very animated, very extroverted. And you know, most authors close themselves in and they're all introverts, and these signings are very difficult for them because they, you know, they'd much rather, you know, crawl in a cave and write. So it was nice to be able to talk to them and do my best to put them at ease and, you know, ask them questions and that kind of thing. Okay, Kristen Simmons was there, and I have the Article 5 trilogy. So she was so much fun. She was just a blast. This first one says, for Jen, great meeting you in Tucson, Kristen Simmons. Yeah, there's that. And this is the second book, Breaking Point. And I don't remember what she wrote in here when she did it. For Jen, never give up. There's that. And the last one is called 3. And she had an interesting story about this book. So when I show you my vlog of the festival, I'll put in what she said. This one just says, enjoy, for Jen. She was so gracious. Now, I also had a book shipped, well, I had several books shipped to Karen because I knew that I was going to want them and I wanted to get them signed. Kristen Simmons' newest book, Pacifica, came out on Wednesday before the festival, and so it came to Karen's house on release day from Amazon. Amazon will do that. So I had her newest book to be able to be signed. This is about pirates. And it says, for Jen, weather the storm. Kristen Simmons. And there's a little bookmark in there too. I think it has all of her books on it. Yeah, it does. Glass Arrow and Metal Town are the two that I don't have, that I didn't get ahead of time. And I'm not sure why I didn't do that. I think because I knew that I could probably get them on Book Outlet for pretty cheap. And I also know that she is local to me. She doesn't live very far from me. So there's a book festival in the fall in November, which is held in the town where she lives. And so I thought, oh, you know what? I'll just go to that and I'll buy those books then. So yeah, I'm anxious to get to this one. I think it is going to be great. And I got to talk to her a little bit about audiobooks and narrators, and she knew what she was talking about. That was so refreshing because so many of them, they're like, well, you know, the publisher chooses and I don't know, but I'm glad to hear that it's good. So yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go on to the ones that I bought on Amazon and had shipped to Karen. And the first of those, the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I kind of caved and I ended up buying one of the special editions. And I had seen a picture of it and I thought, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. So I had to get it. It's red and it's got the red text block and just red end pages. And it's the first book in the series, and it just says to Jen and then her signature. So now I have 2 copies of this book, but one is fabulous. I got the other one because I wanted them all to match. And these covers are so gorgeous. I just think they're some of the best covers I've ever seen. So there we go. And this one has beautiful end papers. And there it just says to Jen. Yay. So there's the first book, which is Red Queen. The second book is Glass Sword. Again, beautiful end papers. And this one just says to Jen. And the third book is King's Cage. Again, gorgeous cover and gorgeous end papers. Very kind of a, well, it's more like a, it kind of looks, when I show you, it looks metallic, but it's really not. It's just kind of matte, but it's a gray. Well, I guess it is kind of metallic. And there's where she signed it. And let's see, the last one is the novella Cruel Crown, which is, I think it's book 1.5 because it says that it's got a first look at book 2. So it's just a very thin paperback novella, which I would have gotten in hardback had I been able to. Okay, so there's her signature where she signed it. The fourth book in this is coming out, and I forget when, but it's not out yet. So that'll be interesting. If I can see her again, then I'll get the 4th book and have it signed. And there was only one other one, I think, yeah, that I ordered that I had sent to Karen's house, and that was The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. I don't know really anything about Amber Smith, and I did check this out on audio, and I even started it, but there was another book that I really wanted to read first, so I put it on hold for the time being. But she says, for Jen, always speak the truth. And where is her signature? God, I love signed books. I love me a signed book. I did not get her latest book because I didn't know if I would like this one, but I think this one's got a lot of promise. It's pretty well rated on Goodreads, and so yeah, little bookmark there that goes with the book. So those were all the books that I bought on Amazon, had shipped to Karen, which was great, and then had signed. Now these are the books that I got signed while I was there. The first was Endurance. This is by Scott Kelly, and it is the story of his life. It's called A Year in Space, A Lifetime of Discovery. Now this was interesting. I was not going to get this book because I was trying to get tickets, a ticket to go see him in an interview that he was doing, kind of like a panel discussion, but it was just kind of a Q&A, and couldn't get them. Couldn't get any tickets because it sold out so quickly. Karen and Jeannie both got tickets, and so they went on ahead, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna grab some lunch, kind of relax. So I did that. I, got some lunch in the food court, and I was on my way out of the food court when I look up and I notice that there are 2 like flat screen monitors, televisions, and I noticed that the Q&A with Scott Kelly is on there. They were doing it, like taping it for C-SPAN. I couldn't believe it. So I just stopped where I was, sat down at a table with a few other people, and we watched the entire thing. And I think actually that was a better experience because, the camera got close-ups of him and you could hear him very clearly, and it was just really cool. He did the signing right afterwards, and his life is amazing. I had started listening to the audiobook before I left for the festival, and so I listened to it on the plane a little bit, and I was about 3/4 of the way through it when I met him. He's something. This guy has been to space for a year. And I'm not sure it's the kind of place that you really want to go at this point in our technology and our advancements and all that kind of thing, because there's a lot of stuff that you can't do that he had kind of had to put aside and not think about so that he wouldn't miss it too much. But anyway, he was great. He was very much an astronaut, and he didn't have very much to say, but I told him, listen, I listen to a lot of audiobook narrators, and you're pretty good. And he just looked at me and he said, oh, well, thanks. So there's his signature. He was apparently he's a guy that is very no nonsense, very direct. He has to be because, he's an astronaut. So I think next up in his life, he said probably he was going to do some book tours and everything like that. So I had to buy that book and go have it signed. I just thought I got to do it. So Kelly Barnhill was there, and I knew I wanted to buy her book when I got there. So I bought 2 copies. One was for me, and then the other was for my good friend Lisa. She had just read this book, and actually I am almost finished with it. I have about 20 minutes left on the audiobook. Christina Moore narrates it incredibly. Oh my gosh, so good. Such a great audiobook. This is a middle grade book. And so for Lisa's, she said to Lisa, magical and marvelous. And then put her signature there. And then on mine, I think she just signed her name on mine. To Jen, thank you for coming. There's her signature. This is a wonderful fairy tale. I love it. That narration, I gotta tell you, wow, amazing. When I was standing in line for Paolo Bacigalupi, beside him was Adrian Finley. And I didn't know anything about her. I vaguely had looked her up, you know, when I was looking up the authors for the festival before I left, and I thought, oh, okay, she wrote a YA story. It's kind of sci-fi. It's about clones. Yeah, it's not available on audio. I probably don't want it. Well, I started talking to her because she didn't have a line, and I thought, you are really wonderful. So I said, are you going to be here for a minute? She goes, yeah, I think I'm going to be here for a minute. So I ran into the tent, the bookstore tent, and I bought the book. I just finished this today, and she gave me a bookmark and then signed it. There we go. This is really good. It's a YA story about cloning. So I'll tell you about it in a wrap-up, but I got to tell you, I'm glad I bought it. She said there are no plans for an audiobook, and I said, I wonder if maybe I make some noise about that. If one of the publishers will pick it up. There are some publishers who will pick up books, print books that have been done by other publishers, and they will produce them as audiobooks. So we'll see. I don't know. The last book that I bought was Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Now, he was not at the festival, but I was in a book tent looking for another book to buy, and I saw this and it said autographed copy. So this is not personalized, but it does have his signature inside. So I loved this book. I really did. I listened to it on audio. It was wonderful and just, you know, great story. Really great story about hockey and a town in Canada, and just really good. Karen wanted the UK copy of Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I love that book. I just love it. And so she ordered it, and they sent her the wrong cover. She wanted the UK cover. And so she had this extra copy and said, hey, do you want that? And I said, heck yes, I want that. I loved this book. So now I have a copy of it, and I'm fairly well, yeah, it's not signed or anything like that. She hasn't seen her yet. Karen is, oh my gosh, the books she has that are signed, I think all of her books are signed. So those are all the books from the festival. Now I have one last thing to show you. This came in the mail yesterday on release day, and man, am I happy about it, because I just finished this on audio about, I don't know, a week and a half ago. And then I went online and realized I had ordered the Kindle book, and I thought, well, no, I gotta have the hardback cover of that. And it is Obsidio. This is by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, and oh my gosh, it's in my hands. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to read this in print, because the print book is always different than the audiobook, but in an amazing way. I mean, they're two completely different experiences, but this series is just, holy cow. It's YA, it's sci-fi, and it's amazing. It's amazing. So that is my amazing book haul. Oh, I'm so glad I did that. I did it last year, did it this year, and I have every intention of going back to the festival next year. I can't wait to see who they have. If you ever get the chance to go to that festival, listen, you should. I don't know how it is that Arizona gets all the great conferences, like the Phoenix Comic-Con is amazing, and the Tucson Festival of Books is amazing. So I don't know how they do it, but boy, it's so worth it. So if you ever get the chance, you should definitely do it. So that's it for now from me, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching.